Place hands on your thighs, chest up. Take that deep breath. Exhale, drop the shoulders. Chin up, head back. Press your hands down your thighs again. Take a nice deep breath in, draw your back ribs in. Stretch your side rib forward. Lift your front ribs up so you get that dome chest. Drop your shoulders. Don't squeeze them in. Just literally try to let the muscle of the shoulder to neck go down so you've got the dome chest. And I know the desire is to pull the chin down. That's a habit of the neck wanting to work to move your shoulder. Chin up, head back, eyes closed. So as you start taking a few breaths in, remember that even though we are all kind of isolated more now, we don't have the same face-to-face interaction we did with each other in the studio, and that may be true for other parts of your life. You may not have the same interaction with work or partners or friends. And we know that it's not easy. We all have stuff we're going through right now. Being stuck inside, feeling disconnected, batteries not getting recharged, whatever it is. However you need to put that you have a need or want. But remember that each of our lives and everything we do is like a pebble being thrown into a pond. We never get to see how far or how deep the ripples go. But we have to trust that the actions that we take are in the best the best that we can take for those that we don't see, not just those that we do see, and not just entirely ourselves. We're all in this together. The connectedness that yoga teaches us gives us a moment of insight to recognize that we are all having trouble in some way or another. That our actions can affect others, and our good actions enrich them, heal them, and love them. But actions could also, encourage people to do things not safe. So our practice of yoga is not just about the flexibility of our hamstrings, knowing all the sutras and mantras or the positions. But let our practice of yoga be today a recognition of our power, of who we are, that just as we shape and heal our body, we shape and heal the world around us, and we can also cause harm. Mr. Iyengar would say, action without thought is violence. So let us be kind and loving to ourselves, so the ripples that go through us are healing ones and enriching ones, so that when we have to make those decisions, how we show up or go out into the world, we do so with every possible intent to be caring and loving to others, because we have the power to affect their lives. So just for a few moments, each deep breath in, slow breath out. Think of if there's a time where someone did something small for you and they didn't even realize what it was. It might have been something they blew off as just a small thing to them, but meant everything to you. Acknowledge that for a moment. And then even though you may not know what the moment is, acknowledge for yourself that you have done things that may seem small and inconsequential, but they've changed your life later down the road, right? You went to your first yoga class, you changed out, your computer chair, whatever it is. And because you've done it for you, I promise you've done it for others. That connectedness is part of the thing that yoga teaches us, that we are all one. So let our practice today again connect us to all the things that we do to and for ourselves, and then ultimately to the world around us. Bring the palms together at the chest, thumbs touching the sternum, fingers spread slightly apart. Keep your body in the position of the pose, right? The poses are there to let us feel the changes, feel the reverberation, feel the effect that we're doing on ourselves. So don't shy away from it, friends. Love your power. Respect your power. Be connected to it so that it might be used ultimately for the greatest good. Blow them 3 times and then begin. Take a nice deep breath. Bow your head. Salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Take another breath. Let your head rise and eyes open. It's so nice to see everybody. I'm always happy to see like everyone's on camera. It's such a rare treat. Like it's almost like being in the studio. But so like we're in the studio, let's do some work. Even though I have no clue what that's going to be off the top of my head. I lie. I actually know exactly what it's going to be. Stand on up. So grab a block or a chair, whatever you need for forward folds or lateral poses, like standing forward folds, triangles, and things like that to help your body if your hamstrings are tight or if you have back pain. No. So place the block or the chair in front of you, just because we'll come to it in a moment. Bring the feet together, knees together. Let's do Tadasana for a second. Just as you ground yourself in the seated action, beginning the physical movement, beginning to feel what happens with the pose throughout your body, you do the same thing here. But there's so much more physical work that happens in Tadasana than a seated pose. I like to think the more little tricks and insights that a teacher shares with you on some level means that you've got the bandwidth, right, to hold more space for it, to hold more space for the potential and growth and greatness of you. So you've been in classes with me where we could just say, squeeze your calves together, drop the shoulders from the ears, and rotate the thighs in. But then you also remember all the other parts and pieces that you know to work on for you. So take a moment and create Tadasana. Like I said, squeeze the calves in, rotate the thighs internally, shoulders away from the ears. And then feel your body, feel the reverberation of that effect of the pose on your body for a moment. Yoga is a meditative practice, not sitting there just entirely perfectly still, but can you be still in the consciousness of your mind, draw your discipline and focus, you've heard me talk about it for weeks, discipline and focus to feel what changes are happening or what's happening in the body just in this pose. If it's really easy, then the mind wants to run off and be distracted. Pull it back. And then add to it. Can you keep the calves, the rotation of the thighs, and the shoulders from the ear, and then lift all 10 toes up off the floor? So all 10 toes up, please. Flex them up. Yeah, thank you, Uma. Nice. So you've got all that lift, you've got all that work, all that action happening. So notice, where did your mind go when that happened? Did you lose the other 3? Where's your bandwidth? It's actually why it's one of the reasons I teach the whole toe thing. So the toe thing, if you don't remember, keep all 10 toes up, dorsal flexing the foot. Place your big toe down and keep all the other toes lifted. Then check all those other parts you were working on, calf, thigh, shoulder. Pick your big toe up, place your pinky toe down. Do the best you can. This isn't about like, oh, you're only good if you can do this. That's BS. This is about, can you start to stretch your discipline, stretch your muscle control, and feel the effect of it on throughout your body. That perception is how yoga teaches us to be aware of our power and our actions in the world and how that affects everyone else around us. We may not know exactly, but we can start to have an idea. Big toe, pinky toe down, middle 3 toes lifted. And so if you're ever confronted with like, do I matter, or, you know, what am I doing, or how am I affecting people, get on your mat. See how you're affecting yourself, because however you treat other people, sure, you're treating yourself the same way. You treat yourself with love, you treat others with love. You treat yourself with like respect and reverence, you will with others. Maybe not everybody, not everyone deserves it, right? We all got that list, sure. Fold forward, take both hands to the floor, Uttanasana. Now, if your hamstrings are tight, put your hands on a chair or a block or your couch cushions or whatever you need to, just to give yourself some height so you create some level of stretch. Remember, it's not about the complexity of the pose, but how do you feel the pose working through you? You're right, Glenda. You got your hands on the floor. You're doing good. You're welcome. You know, and for some of us, that starts with, oh, my hamstrings are stretching. Okay. Are you still squeezing your calves together and rolling your thighs in? Take a nice deep breath. Stretch your chest bone out away from your thighs, so it feels like your head, shoulders lift a little bit, but the arms are still stretching down to reach the floor. So you get that length. See how that changed your body. See how that affected yourself. Take that nice deep breath. Bend your knees deeply, sitting your hips back and down. Don't sit your hips past your heels, but it's like a little lower than not lower than your knees, just enough that it feels like you're going to sit into an invisible chair. So Uttanasana, thighs tight, but check in. Don't go up yet. Wait for it, Jaya. It's like the pose name is like the starting gun for the event. Bend the knees, hips back. Rotate your thighs in again. Squeeze your calves. Can you keep the bandwidth? Can you keep that discipline and focus on what you're doing to yourself? Do not ever check out of your practice. The more you check in with it and the more you get comfortable with it, the longer your body finds a way to hold the pose and get more out of it. Pain, irritation, all of these things want us to get out of this work. Part of it's the ego saying, why do I have to feel it? And we might just be tired. And that's okay. Stretch both arms straight out in front of you. So Uttanasana. Rotate those thighs. Shoulders are stretched long, but not squeezing your neck. They're wide, but long. Look up, pick your arms up, sit your torso upright. So your hips, knees are still bent, your hips are back. Do the best you can. Take a deep breath. Hold it for a second with those knees bent. Feel yourself. Feel the reverberations of your actions going through your body. What you think, feel, want, or don't want about them. That's the yoga practice. All of it's been just people doing these poses, writing this stuff down. You're doing it now. Your work is just as important or valid. And because I think you've all got the bandwidth, you get the extra stuff. So tuck your butt under as deep as you can, and then stand all the way up while tucking your glutes under you. Nice. So you don't stand up on your low back, you stand up on your legs. Fold forward, take your hands back to the floor. So just nice Uttanasana. So just that simple action engages a lot of your body. You've already started to have to focus, have to stretch, and then have to build up a lot of muscle flexion and action. You've also balanced the body. We've had to work on our body's balance, our endurance, and our strength. We've had to do a lot already. You may not recognize it because you're checking out, but check back in and acknowledge that you've already done all of that. Do it again, too. Bend the knees, hips back. Stretch the arms out. We won't hold it as long because you're all so finely tuned. Chest up. Rotate your thighs in. Strong legs. Breathe. And those of you that say, God, I wish I was just better at this, this is how you get better at it. There's no more waiting. There's only doing. Come on, Orion, get those arms up there for a moment. I know. There you go, brother. You got this. All right, tuck the butt deeply as you stand up. The tuck of the butt is what lifts you up. Better, huh? Fold forward, hands on the floor, Uttanasana again, or the chair or block. All right. From the forward fold, notice that your thighs, hip, thigh, and ankle are all in a straight line. Keep them in the straight line. Do not let your hips come forward when I give this next instruction. You may use blocks or a chair as you need. or whatever prop for elevation of hands. Walk your hands forward away from your body as far as you can possibly reach them without going to down dog. This is not downward dog. Your hips stay back. You are still in Uttanasana, but your thighs move back. Your arms and upper body stretch longer. The more you walk your arms out and down, if you're using a chair, it's okay to walk them down the chair legs. It's very useful for that. But the more you do that, the more you have to stretch from your ribs, your shoulder blades, and even the front body. Your thighs have to work very hard, not your knees, to keep your body weight back in your heels and in the front of the foot. So just that shift of walking your arms out changed all of Uttanasana. So take a breath or two into feeling this. Walk your hands back to your feet for a moment. Feel the difference when you let your body fold down differently. Feel the difference, feel the effect you have on yourself, the stretch, the mental, the emotional, right? All of your work is valid. Everything you do has ripples and effects. You are all that powerful, you are all that wonderful. All right, now walk your hands back out again. Long arms, hips back, thighs back. Don't let your legs or pelvis move, but you're stretching your arms out. You're stretching your ribs out. It's like your belly pulls away from your pelvis, your chest away from your belly, shoulders away from the chest. And feel the difference here. Feel what comes up for you in this work. I can sit here and talk about the effect this has physiologically on the body, the calming effects it has on the mind, but ultimately all that is just my experience and others shared with me. Really matters is what you're going through and how this makes you feel now, because if this is something you want more for yourself later, you got to connect to it so you know to do it later for you. You're going to a yoga class. You're here to learn, so let yourself be taught by yourself, by what's going on inside you. There's no wrong answer. It's just what's going on. Walk your hands back to your feet. Bend the knees, belly to the thigh. Stretch both arms out. Uttanasana again. Thighs tight. Roll them in. You got this. Tuck your hips. And when you tuck the hips, tuck that glute, both glutes under and stand up. All the way. Arms down. Very good. Not too bad, huh? All right, so from Tadasana, let's work a little bit of balance. If your balance is such that you might feel you need a wall or a chair to touch your hand to for balance, get to it now. But when you're ready, Tadasana, please. Thighs together, feet together, calf together. Stretch both arms straight up, palms facing in. So Urdhva Hastasana. So you get the nice long body. Thank you, Uma, for adjusting your camera. Nice pants, by the way, look very comfy. Arms up, palms facing in. Now, work your legs. Remember, keeping the bandwidth and keeping that discipline is even though you may wobble, you try to keep all the other parts and pieces. Pick your right knee up in front of you, knee the height of your hip. Just simple balance work for a moment. Where do you feel anything in your body? I have a tendency when I'm on my left foot to feel very stable. My right foot, I feel unstable. I know this pose has an effect of strengthening my legs, so I tend to do a little more these days. That's true for me. You might have an ankle injury and this hurts. Might have a different story for you why this matters to you. Take your right foot back behind you, thighs together, knees together. What changed? Physical, mental, emotional, just moving to that. Did you lose any of the other parts and pieces? Take your right leg out in front, cross the right ankle over your left thigh. Stretch the right knee to the right, opening up into the modified Vrikasana. Work your balance best you can. It may be up and down, but you feel the effect that coming in and out of the pose has, or holding the pose has. Take a breath. Bring the right arm and left arm down. Keep your right leg where it is. And if you can, it's okay to stay at this modified form of it. But if you can bring your arms down, grab your foot and pull your foot to your inner thigh now into the full action of the pose for a moment. Try. Even if you fall, just try. It's okay. I fall all the time in my yoga poses. 17 years of doing this, and I still fall out of this one. Sometimes I let myself fall out of poses on purpose just to remember, you know, it's okay to fall and at least try to laugh at myself. Yeah. If you have cats, cats are great at judging you. If you just like fall in front of your cat, the cat looks at you like, why'd that happen? Dogs are great because they don't do it. They don't. So once your foot's in place, push your foot to your thigh, thigh into your foot. Stretch your knee down, flex that quad, open that hip, and then take both arms straight up. Very nice, Pratima, good job. Glenda, very good balance. Lena, nice modification. Nice straight leg there, Uma. Chaya, flex that right leg. There you go. Good adjustment of the pelvis. Good, bring the arms down, foot down. And don't just start dancing about. Stay focused on what you're doing. Get through the other side, then, you know, have your own little coffee talk about it. Arms up. Take a nice deep breath. Pick up your left knee in front of you.
Dustin.
Yes, Chaya.
Can I take notes? Some notes.
Take as many notes as you want.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. You're very welcome. So even here, feel the difference one side to the other. That's part of the discipline and the education of yoga, is that it's a compare and contrast practice. We learn, we take both sides, and then we kind of find out, you know, what's going on. And that takes being aware of how it affects our body, how it makes us feel. Take the foot back behind you, thighs together, knees together. Bring your left knee out in front of you. Ankle across thighs, best you can. Check with your breath. If you don't know what to feel for, you don't know what you're feeling, always go to your breath. If your breath is relaxed and calm, you're probably doing something that's relaxing and calming. If you're holding your breath, you're fighting your body. Check in with your body. Check in with your breath. Don't try to force it. Right now, it's just about observing. We can all force all day long. We need to observe. Be aware of our power. Be aware of who we are and what we do. Right? A lot of the books, it talks about that's your own inner divinity. Bring the arms down. Take the left foot to the inner right thigh. Push the foot into the thigh. Stretch the knee down. When you're ready, if you can, arms up. And these are just poses I picked out in a sequence because it's the stuff I've been working on. I've tried the sequence out to help different parts of my body. But this is true across all practices. It's still the same work. We could just do one whole pose the entire class and it could give you the same amount of depth and insight. We variate it to because we know that stretching different areas brings out better health. So that's the wisdom the past taught us because people spent the time paying attention to themselves when they did it. So work the pose for a few more moments. Push the foot into the thigh, thigh into the foot, whether the foot's on the inner thigh or front thigh here in Vrksasana, tree pose. Keep the legs strong. Do not lock your knees. But how do you bring more of yourself into it? You have the bandwidth for this. You have the discipline for this. So make your bandwidth broader by picking one little thing and working it a little more clearly. Take that chance in every pose. All right, I'm in it. I'm stable. This is pretty comfortable. Build on it. Arms down, legs down. You fell, they all came down. I'm sorry, that was very funny. Stand nice and wide on your yoga mat, 3.5 to 4 feet apart. It was adorable. It was good.
I was embracing falling.
It was like it's like when I teach class. Remember, I would say in class, exhale, take a breath, and then you'd all come out on the exhale, and I wouldn't say anything. Tristan falls out of the pose. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's okay now." Stand nice and wide on your yoga mat, 3.5 to 4 foot apart. Toes pointing straight ahead. Fold forward, take both hands onto the floor, standing straddle stretch, Prasada Padottanasana. So same actions. Walk your hands back close to your feet. If you can do so. If you can't, that's okay. Just do the best you can. Even if your hands are on chairs or blocks, it's all right. But let your head hang. And if you just took a nice deep breath from the bottom of your ribs to the top of your ribs, I mean the top back of your ribs up near your shoulder blades, and then you exhaled, and from the same direction you breathed in, exhale that way, so that weight hangs down. Take that deep breath so you feel it expand the back body, lengthen it, widen it, and then when you exhale, let the weight really create extension. Not force, no flexion, just feel it. You're already in the pose. This is your bandwidth right now. If you can, take each hand wide and grab your big toes. If you cannot, it is appropriate to just still keep your fingers on the floor and then just stretch your chest down on its own muscle. You don't want to, if you can't reach your toes comfortably, do not try to force it, please. All right, so holding onto your big toes, one in each hand, bend your elbows wide. Your elbows should be pointing out from your side body as deep as you can. And the more you pull up on that toe and push down on that toe, feel how the leg has to flex. And it's not about your neck getting down, but when you pull with the arms, it stretches the side body a little bit and deep into the shoulder blade. So as you're doing it, can you take a deep breath, again, from the bottom of the ribs up all the way to the top, and then when you exhale, let your heart come down into the pose so your bottom ribs move to your top ribs and your top ribs move towards the earth. Move the spaces in between the ribs a little bit. Or at least be aware that when you forward fold like this and breathe deeply, you do. That you are moving gravity's effect on the rib cage like that. Elbows wide, nice deep bends. Even if it's not a lot of bend, it's a strong bend and a focused bend of stretching the elbow from the shoulder, like your elbows above your toes. So let go of the feet. Fingertips on the floor, close to your foot, and then exhale, keep your hips back, same as we did in Uttanasana. Walk your hands forward as far as you possibly can. Create the full extension of the pose, but not like downward dog or anything. Your hips are still back, and try to stretch your body forward. This is a challenging little bit because it challenges your balance. You have to put weight equally in your foot. Your legs have to be strong. And the more you walk your hands out, the less you can just put your weight in your shoulder, neck, and arm, and the more it has to come from your legs and hips. You're not disengaging, but you are at least keeping yourself aware of what's going on in your body, and you're challenging it to have a little more focus and attention in how it can move in different ways in different poses. That also increases your bandwidth, right? We do 5 different variations to a pose. You've learned a lot about that pose. Then you ultimately have to do the pose to the degree it helps teach you about yourself. That's it. You doing the poses isn't like some weird initiation that the teacher eventually is going to give you the secret textbook on you. We are already teaching you the secret textbook. The poses are that. So while you're here for the next few seconds, what are you learning or feeling about yourself? You're already great. You're already doing well. You showed up. You're already ready to learn. So be taught by you for a moment. You okay, Truth?
Mhm.
Take a breath. Walk the hands back. Bring the body up. All right, bring the feet together. A couple different ways we could go about this. I'm trying to make a decision. That's the hard part. All right, come down to your mat. So we're going to variate down dog a little bit. You're going to come down onto your elbows and interlace your fingers. Palms slightly open like this. You do not want your palms tight together for this variation of down dog. I want you to keep your palms open like you're going to do headstand. You're not going to do headstand, don't panic, but you're just going to, you know. So elbows down, elbows about as wide as your shoulders, palms open. But Dustin, how far are my feet from my elbows? The same distance as if your elbows were from your hands were from your feet. So if you ever need to know, lay flat on your stomach and put your elbows there, prop your chest up on your elbows, interlace your fingers, and then go to down dog. That's where you should be. Trist is demoing nicely. You can walk your feet up and stretch your feet. Right there. About a little too much. Nope, too far. Okay. So up and down dog, hips up in the air. Do not put your head in the cup. We are not doing headstand. Push your chest bone towards your thigh. Hips up in the air, Miss Glenda. You got it. Walk your feet forward a couple steps, Glenda, and that'll help you out. Now pick your butt way up. There you go. Everybody, notice how it's challenging to push the arm down in this. Well, in my 5-minute headstand last night, I had a little bit of a revelation about how to work the shoulders and chest more. While you're in this pose, think about your elbows dragging towards your toes as hard as they can, and it should release your neck. And then you have to work your legs more to pick your hips up higher. So as your elbows stretch towards your toes, your pinky and wrist stretch away from the elbow. You feel it? Huh? That's your upper body. That's your chest muscles to your neck. 17 years. This is what I figured out. Take a breath, come down. Child's pose, please. Knees wide, top of the feet flat to the floor. Arms stretched out very far in front of you. Fingertips only on the floor, please. Do not take your palms flat. So you get the full extension for a moment. All right. Elbows down, interlace your fingers, go back to down dog. When your hips are up, when your hips are up, try to stretch your elbows towards your toes, stretch your pinky and wrist away from your elbows. It works your chest and back muscles a lot differently, I find. It really opens up the upper thoracic. And then take 2 steps forward, small steps, don't get crazy. And then elbows towards your toes, chest towards your shin, pinky and wrist stretch away from elbow. Take another 2 small steps up. Best you can. If you got to go to child's pose, it's okay, but stretch your elbows towards your feet, not your neck. So your forearm is literally trying to split. Walk your feet up 2 more small steps. Hips up, take a breath. Last one. Walk up 2 small steps. 1, 2. Elbows towards feet. Wrist away from elbows. Hips way up. Come down and rest. Child's pose, please. Very good. Fingertips only to the floor, so your palms are elevated. Your arms are nice and long. Crawl your fingertips away from your shoulders. Stretch your shoulders away from your hips away from your shoulders. So you're doing the same thing that you were doing in Uttanasana and Saddha. You were doing the extension of the upper body from a folded lower half. Take your right arm under your chest to your left side so your right shoulder rolls towards the floor. Take your right arm under your body across so your right shoulder rolls onto the floor. Hips are still down towards your heels, please. So from child's pose, you just slide the arm under your chest. They're going to the arm. Take your left arm straight up into the air. Push the back of your right hand down into the floor firmly. Press the forearm down into the floor. And stretch your wrist and hand away from your shoulder. Try to stretch your shoulder away from your wrist and hand. And do the same on your upper arm. The wrist and hand ascend from the elbow. The left shoulder pulls in towards your back, your shoulder blade. Take a breath. You're doing it. It may just feel weird the way I'm instructing it, but here's the fun part. I'm instructing it the way that made sense to me. All of you, even if you're not yoga teachers, you're sharers of great, wonderful stories. That's who you are, just in everyone's life, regardless if you know it or not. You got to figure out different ways of saying it. That's how the practice continues. Switch arms. Left arm under, right arm up when you're ready. Exhale as you go. Push the back of the left hand down. Stretch the left wrist and shoulder away, or left wrist and hand away from the left shoulder. It's a very active piece to try and stretch that section away from the shoulder, and the shoulder stretches away from it. Makes a very strong arm. The inner and outer arm work. It creates stability. It's the same reason that when we stretch our arms out in Warrior II, our arms feel very strong if we do it right. Because we're engaging that length in both sides of the muscle of the arm. A few deep breaths. All right, untwist. Interlace the fingers. Down dog one more time. So those of you that are working on your headstands and are working up to it, this action of stretching the elbow, like literally trying to drag the elbow towards the feet and the wrist and pinky away from the elbow, will activate your chest muscles. Take a lot of pressure off your shoulder and neck. So nice. Stretch your wrist. Walk your feet up 2 small steps. Walk your feet up 2 small steps. Walk your feet up 2 small steps. Walk your feet back, the down dog. Still stretching the elbow towards the feet, the wrist, pinky away from elbow. Like, just almost like you're just trying to drag that elbow that way. Now walk your feet back enough that your hips come down into a plank, please. Your body's in a level body in some form. Good. So even here, drag the elbows towards the toes, stretch the hand away from the elbows, tuck your glute and breathe. Just hold for a few seconds. Feel the effect on your body. This is different. This is different than what we started with. Your bandwidth is being challenged. Your discipline is being challenged. Spin both heels to the right. Take your left arm straight up. Your right elbow is still on the floor. Did your right arm stop doing the action? Try and drag your right elbow towards your foot. Stretch the wrist and the pinky side, the whole right side of your hand away from your elbow. So these 2 parts try to separate. Makes you stronger and tired in that arm faster. Elbow down. Roll the center for a second. Switch sides, both heels to the left. Right arm up. We could do this straight arm, but there's a neat lesson to learn by doing it with your elbow on the floor and dragging your elbow. This is you activating the back muscles and the shoulder muscles. Feel the effect it has on you. I think you all got the bandwidth. You all can learn it. You can all feel the new thing. It's, yeah, if you got hardwood floors, then, you know, it's hard, but try doing yoga on ashram concrete floors. We're so lucky we have yoga mats. Take a breath. Calm down. Lay flat on your stomach. It's not restorative yet. Don't get too happy. Very excited. Place both elbows under your shoulders and bring your chest up. So your legs are straight. Thighs are more or less together. Elbows are on the floor. Palms are flat. Chest is nice and lifted for a moment. Just got a little bit of a backward bend. So we can work on a couple different backward bends from here, affecting with the legs or with the upper front body. Remember, backward bends strengthen the body. So we want to make our bodies a little stronger. But how it strengthens the body is entirely up to your perception of you. Push down through the palms. And it's not about straightening the elbows, but try and drag your elbows back towards your feet. And as you pull your elbows back, push your palm, like hook your heel of your hand in the rug or in the floor and push the palm away from you as you pull your elbow back. But you don't want to go fully up yet. That's pushing down. I want you to try and like push the yoga mat away from you with your hand while you pull your elbow back at the same time. What this does is makes your shoulder blades work harder. So try to pick your chest bone up, your head up, and move your head back first. So it's not doing this where you crunch your head down into your neck, but your head is lifted and you're stretching it back so that muscle right between your shoulder blades has to work to lift your spine. So then hold that. If you want more, right, a la carte, keep pulling your elbows back so the shoulders move back, but press your hands down and forward to pick your chest up higher and let the elbows lift. But the arm is still, the elbow action of pulling towards your feet is still very true. Head back more now, not just down, but stretch it back towards your feet like your elbows. Get the breath. It's a lot of bend. Like you can learn how to, you can make this entire upper thoracic cramp by just moving your head back deeply because we do this all day. You gotta kind of go backwards. Take a breath or two. Come down to your elbows if you're up on your arms. Great. Lay down in your chest. Keep your arms basically in the same position. We're gonna work the other half of this pose, which is the legs. So from here, bend both knees. Pull both feet towards your buttock as deep as you can without your hands. Just let them come in tight. So now keep your feet at this position, whatever position it is for you. Check in with yourself, see what's going on. Now push your hands and elbows down, lift your chest up a little bit. Do not straighten the arm. Bring your upper body up. Elbows dragging towards the feet, the knees and the foot. Hand pushing away a little bit. Pull your head back again. Pull your feet towards your head. Try to think about those 2 points touching and what it would take muscularly to do so. Point your toes, Micah. There you go. Everyone point your toes. There you go. There you go, Chai, like that. So your tip toes touch the ceiling. Eventually, and I say this way down the line, eventually, your head lays in the arch of your foot. I said eventually, and today don't have to be that day, trust me, but you know, it's possible. There's a point I could. So now pull those feet in close so you feel those hamstrings work, so you feel the upper body work. Are you still dragging the elbows towards the knees so the shoulder blades draw in, head back, straighten the arms a little bit. Try to still lengthen that pose, but it's not just about your chest going up. Your chest goes up and your body goes back as best you can. More your head than anything else in the beginning. The head leads the action on this one. All right, elbows down, come down, rest. You don't grab the feet on that one. That's a different pose. That's bow pose, right? We've all been in some level of participation in that. But full cobra is really about the hands working up and back and your head connecting to your feet over time. It's very powerful. It's also very good for your upper back, but it's also very hard. Laying flat on your stomach. Bend your left knee and slide your left knee along the floor so it is to the outer left side of your body. Tristan's doing it real well. So Jatara or crocodile. The knee lines up with the hip as best you can. And then once you pull that knee up, you slide that knee away from your left hip so it kind of opens up the front groin a little. Not too bad. Good pose. You got it, Glenda? So while you're laying on your stomach, Glenda, you slide your left knee out to the side. Yeah, like that. You got it. You're learning. You're doing good. All right. Bring your chest up on your elbows again. Same thing we just did, except no feet. Shoulder blades in. By pulling the elbows back, drag the floor with the arm. Head up. So we're going to start low and then we'll build up on this one. You're going to keep your left arm where it is. You're going to take your right hand and put it onto the floor where your right elbow was at. So pick your right hand up, look where your right elbow is, and put your right hand right where the right elbow was. So you feel like your right shoulder is higher up in the air. Great. Keep your left elbow down, still pulling it along the floor like you're trying to drag the yoga mat. So open that shoulder. And then straighten your right arm so your right ribs rotate up and your left ribs stay down. So you get a twisting groin stretch to this one. Just like that. Take a few breaths. Yeah, I know. This is a lot of back adjustment. So take it slow on this one. You don't have to rush. But is your head up? Because it's very easy to want to tuck the head in and towards the right shoulder. And you lift the head, turn the head to the left slightly, and then move it back. So you're moving this twisting backward bend into space without crunching your neck. Center your head. So it's centering your head with your chest bone and moving it back. Even at this angle, it's still challenging. Right? Different pose, different sequence, and you're almost an hour into this. So really, it's the hard part now, but this is the part where you're going to grow the most. Can you keep the discipline or the bandwidth to stay in that focus, to stay in the presence of what you're going through, the effect you're having on yourself? That you get to own that power that you're creating change in your body, and ultimately you still have that power. You have that power outside of you. That's the greatest lesson yoga ever taught, at least to this point. I might say something different next week. Bring your right elbow down, lay on your stomach, stretch your left leg straight along the right side, bend your right knees, swing the leg out. So once your right knee's out to the side, slide the right knee away from your hip so it opens up that front groin so it doesn't feel like your butt's way up in the air. It will still probably be way up in the air, but at least it's not feeling like it. Both elbows under the chest, chest up. Pull the arm along the floor to try and draw the shoulders back so you get out of your neck. Look where your left elbow is. Place your left hand exactly where your left elbow is so your left side is a little higher than the right side. And then keep your right elbow down, still pressing that elbow down and pulling that right elbow towards the feet. So it's just literally dragging the flesh along the mat. Straighten that left arm so your left ribs lift and you go into that twist. The head turns to the same direction as your chest is pointing, so you're not turning your head into your shoulder or your neck. But once your head's in line with your chest, you move it back. So you start to train out of the slouch posture. Also has a lot of other effects, makes us very aware of like tightness of shoulder blade and such. Few deep breath. Take that deep belly breath. Take that breath through the rib cage, just like in your forward folds. Just because they didn't mention it with the other poses doesn't mean there's not a teaching piece in there in every pose, right? That's your bandwidth. That's your discipline, is to take on these pieces and just kind of even use them. If you don't use them all the time, once in a while, check in with them. How does taking a deeper breath into my lungs and ribs feel when I let my rib muscle go, so my body kind of moves into the shape without resistance? Keep your eyes open so you stay checked in. Take a nice breath, exhale, bring your body down. Roll over onto your back. If you'd like a blanket for your head, bolster for your knees, back, whatever, now's the time to get it. Stretch your legs out long. Have a savasana for a few minutes. You earned it. You've earned more than this, but this is what I can give you right now. Because as the teacher, I recognize that what I give has a more direct effect. I want to give you some peace for a few moments. Give you that time to feel the work you've done, the growth you've created. The world doesn't always make time for us. Each and every one of you made time for yourself to be here. You put it on the schedule, you paid, you showed up. So can you give yourself the full time? Staying present in you. Looking at the effect the work had on you. So you become fully aware of how your body moves, how you move in the world, move in yourself, to ultimately be aware of things outside of yourself on a grander scale. Not just knowledge about politics or who did what or how recipes work or whatever. But that thing that's hard to teach, that empathy that goes to an emotional space, where it's an awareness that you're not bound to, but you can see it and let it inform you. Where the emotions become informational in a sense. That we do not get run away with. All the fears, and the sorrows, and the issues that we all struggle with. But the mastery of ourselves. And ultimately, as the old text would say, that inner divinity. And our impact on the world. Becomes something that at the end of it all, we can look at and say, I did the best I could. And I carry no shame. So rest, my friends, for a few minutes till I ring the bell, because I got a bell now, and enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice. Bend your knees to the body. Roll to your right side. And on an exhale, when you're ready, press your palms into the floor and slowly up you come. So nice to see everybody. Until we meet again, namaste.